Hello, and welcome to our webinar, How to Reach Readers, Keys to Marketing Your School Library. I'm Susan McGuire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some quick technical details. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We'll do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can discuss them either during today's Q&A session or after the webinar. A link to today's slides were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open the email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the link located there. You can also download these at any time by copying the URL on this screen into your web browser. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Christina Samek, Outreach Specialist at OverDrive Education, and Tara Cain, Media Specialist at Charlotte High School. Christina is an outreach specialist at OverDrive. She develops resources that help K-12 educators grow engagement among their students, faculty, and parents. Prior to coming to OverDrive, she worked in the magazine industry. She has a degree in journalism and English literature from Miami University of Ohio. She loves reading, running, her adorable little boy, her husband, cherry turnovers, and her dog, Willow. Tara has been the library media specialist at Charlotte High School in Florida since 2006, where she works with students and educators to foster a passion for reading and competence in information literacy. She earned her master's in education in educational media and instructional technology from the University of Central Florida. When she's not reading, she can be found playing with her grandchildren, working out at CrossFit, or enjoying something made with chocolate. Welcome, Christina and Tara. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Susan. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today virtually. As Susan mentioned, my name is Christina. I'm an outreach specialist at OverDrive, and the short summary of that is I help our partners promote Sora. So what's Sora? Sora is your gateway to the best selection of ebooks and audiobooks available to schools. Also includes game-changing features to connect more students with more books, and of course supports your reading objectives in the classroom, anywhere that may be. And it's a convenient, very adorable student reading app. Next slide. And of course, when we're talking about something like a reading app, content is key. It's very, very, very much the key factor to success. Obviously, you want to have good content. You want to have books that students want to read. But if you don't let your students or your staff or even your parents know about the content that's in Sora, then it goes nowhere. So one of the best things you can do when you get Sora, or if you're thinking about Sora, it's let your students and staff know about it. And I'll be talking more about this in a little bit when I talked about the ways OverDrive supports you in your promotional efforts. But first, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Tara, who can share how she did it, and she did it wonderfully.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm the media specialist at a mid-sized high school in Southwest Florida. And I can remember finding out about OverDrive at a technology conference in 2014 and being really excited to start a digital collection for my school. And it didn't take very long before I figured out that simply curating a collection of ebooks and audiobooks was not going to get them checked out and read by my students. So I started to think of ways to get the word out. So I'll just jump right into some of the ideas we tried at Charlotte High School to promote awareness of our digital collection and using the Sora app to access it. So this has been my favorite promotion of all. That's why it's first. I purchased a button maker a while ago to promote our state award book lists. But when OverDrive released the Sora app for students and I saw that cute little rocket ship image, I knew I was going to be making some new buttons. It's really a pretty simple promotion. I give any student who shows me that they have downloaded the Sora app right onto their phone I give them a button. And our school does require students to wear their ID every day. And most students just pin that button right on their ID lanyard. My biggest push for this, of course, is at the beginning of the school year and doing all of my freshman orientations. But I even have students trying to get more buttons, and the promotion really goes all year long. I have found that once students actually have that app downloaded on the phone, they are way more likely to start browsing and actually use it and give it a try. It's fun because space for apps is pretty precious to them. So I've had students tell me, you know, I had to delete 2 apps to download Sora. So I ended up giving that student 2 buttons. But the other cool thing is that students really like collecting the buttons, and they ask each other, like, where did you get them? How can I get more buttons? And it really inspires the students to promote Sora for you. And just in general, the button maker has been a great investment. I use it in the library, but also other departments and clubs in the school borrow it to make their own buttons. And I really recommend the button maker in general.
And I was just going to say that we do offer button sheets as a template if you do have a button maker to either feature the Sora achievements, or also we have the Sora mascot like Sarah did, or excuse me, like Tara has there. So always something I love to see.
And this is another fun one, I think. Randomly, I pick a holiday or two and deliver little treat bags right to the classrooms for students who have checked out a book with Sora during that month, or whatever the time period is that I decide to use. Of course, those students are thrilled to get little treat bags, but what I really love is that it seems to always pique the interest of the other kids in the class who are thinking, why didn't I get one of those? How come they're getting candy? And that's another great conversation opener for talking to students about Sora without them having to come to the library and have me telling them.
And this was an idea that we really loved at OverDrive as well. We think what Tara does is amazing. She actually is one of our school stars winners. I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit, but that idea was such a great idea in that it was low tech and it resonated with so many people. We loved it. I thought that was such a great idea. And again, she won one of our school stars prizes for that.
And this one, I was looking through some promotional marketing kits that are available in the OverDrive Resource Center, which are really awesome, by the way. And I thought to myself, these are great, but it would be so much cooler if the image was one of my students at Charlotte High School, in a place that kids would recognize and be like, that's my school. So I made business cards and posters that featured one of our high profile students that a lot of people knew. And I put the business cards in the teachers' mailboxes, and I made them available at, of course, our circ desk and at our displays in the library. Kids use them for bookmarks. And it's just so much fun when students walk by the posters or a teacher and they'll walk by and they'll turn around and they'll be like, hey, that's Talia. And it really draws their attention. And so displays obviously aren't anything new and exciting or anything, but I just want to give a little advice for your displays to really draw your eye with artifacts and maybe an interactive component rather than just a poster to look at. For example, when I was putting this one together, I noticed I had a bunch of sports books in my hands. So I ran down to the gym and I asked for sports equipment to put in my display. Also, the iPad worked out really well and provided a super quick way for me to demonstrate the Sora app with students without having to run to my desk and grab my phone. My favorite, though, was when students would say, hey, what's this iPad for? And then I could go, well, actually, it's so I can show you this amazing new app. So that worked well.
And I always say that displays in schools are wonderful because they are kind of like your billboard. With OverDrive, we work with libraries and schools, and with libraries, the user base is kind of spread out sometimes across the state, but in schools, your user base is often right in the building. And so a billboard is one of the best ways to draw attention. It's something that's usually in a high traffic area. And I love this. She used a couple pieces from the resource center here. So I'm just really excited to see that. But this is just so beautifully done and so well laid out, Tara. I love it.
Well, thank you. Okay, so this is really just another way for students to access or browse the OverDrive collection. I really feel like Sora is the best and easiest way to get students using the digital collection. It's just so easy to use, and it's right there on their phones all the time. But so I created this is just a collection that I created in Destiny Discover, which highlights the books that are available in Sora specifically. So if your library doesn't use Destiny as your library management system, you probably have something, a way within your software to create a similar resource type list. And this is probably a good place to mention, in case you didn't know, that OverDrive provides MARC records, so you can upload them right into your library catalog. So I figure you can never have too many ways to get students to see what books you have. Okay, and let's not forget about our parents. This is sort of the boring old newsletter thing, but your school newsletter is an easy way to reach your parents. I think it can be really hard. I've worked at an elementary school before, but I think it's much harder to reach parents at the high school level. So I use the school newsletter to have a way to let them know, number one, we actually have this amazing digital library that your kids can use anytime, anywhere, all summer, over vacations and all that stuff. But also I can highlight special promotions related to Sora, and hopefully that gets the parents asking their students questions and asking their child, like, can you show me how that works?
And I do just want to echo that. I think parents are huge in getting them on board with Sora, because I think there is that screen time concern. Students are especially now, spending so much time in front of screens, that having them be aware of what Sora is and what it's for is really a really good thing to make parents aware of, because they can advocate for it. If their student is scrolling mindlessly on their phone, they could say, hey, why don't you check out a book on Sora? Why don't you do that instead?
So you have to admit, these little Sora creations are pretty adorable. One day a student came out of the Spark Lab, which is this little makerspace right off our library, and she had this little Sora dude that she had crocheted. I was so excited, and I was like, you have to let me put that in our Sora display. And later in the year, another student made the other little Sora rocket ship from felted wool. So now I'm thinking, maybe another promotion in the making could be create your own Sora plushie.
I want one.
And I'm just going to leave you with a few last tips. First, make sure you get your teachers reading and listening on Sora, and naturally they will share it with their students. You can promote it at faculty and department meetings, and especially don't forget to include them when you do your holiday treats and button promotions, because teachers love swag too. I also encourage teachers to use Sora audiobooks in the classroom, whether they're reading an entire novel, or I have a few teachers who do like a first chapter Friday thing to get students interested in various titles. And sometimes they read the chapter themselves, but if we have it available in Sora, they use the audiobook, so students have a chance to hear how well read the audiobooks are. And a couple weeks ago, like, our entire internet went down in the whole district. And so our tech teacher was like, I've got all these bored kids. So she suggested to them, why don't you download the Sora app and start reading something? And then she was showing off the book she was reading on her phone. So you just never know when those opportunities are going to come up to have people help you get the word out. Another thing you can do is just make sure you have like some fun, catchy names for your promotions. I have a friend at a neighboring high school named Kim, and she always has these cute titles for her kickoff promotions for Sora. She's done like a Sora September, and this year we had a late start to the school year because of COVID. So she's doing this year a No Paper November, leave those paper books behind and go digital with Sora promotion. And you can also use, you may have seen like in my display, but it was kind of small. Like, this book is also available, and you can put it as an ebook, an audiobook, or both if you have both, in Sora tags on your print books. They actually have those in the Resource Center already made up.
They
or
do?
You could.
Just going to chime in and say we have those available if you're interested.
Yes, I'm doing the plug for you.
I know, you're the best.
And also you could make your own. I always think I've really been trying to use a lot of QR codes lately, because ever since the the camera apps on the phones can read QR codes instead of having to have a separate app. I feel like students are like scanning everything they see that's a QR code. So you could put a QR code that goes directly to the App Store for Sora. Just one more thing I was going to mention that's not on the slide. But your school's website is, of course, another really great place to get the word out. The Resource Center has really good pre-made digital graphics, like any size you could want, any content that you could need. And that's it for me, Christina.
Thank you so much, Tara. That was awesome. Tara's done such a really good job talking about the Resource Center, as she did amazing with all of her promotions. And she's done a lot of really great promotions and resources that we do have available for all of you, ready to go, ready to download, ready to post right in our Resource Center. It's resources.overdrive.com, and we have a section available just for schools. And if you go on to the next slide for me, Susan, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can expect to find on the Resource Center. So it's basically, we think of ourselves as a like built-in ad agency. So once you have Sora, you have the access to the Resource Center. Everything you see on the Resource Center is, of course, free. It's ready to be downloaded or posted onto social. With COVID, we really challenged ourselves with what we make available on the Resource Center to really have a focus on digital. We still have print pieces. You can always go to our Print Ready tab out on the Resource Center where you'll find your typical marketing resources like posters, flyers, half sheet flyers, and bookmarks. But lately, especially in our trending section, which we do update sometimes bi-monthly, we've been really trying to really focus our efforts on the digital aspect, trying to make sure that our partners have enough to really make their social offerings super robust. It is October, it's spooky season, as the kids say, so we have a lot of really fun seasonal resources out there right now. We have a Read If You Dare kit, which focuses on some horror classics like Frankenstein, like Dracula, with also some newer releases mixed in. If you want to step away from the spooky, I get it, it's not for everyone. We also are featuring a Love to Read kit right now, which has 12 postcards in it. And these postcards have everything from sprawling landscapes and really haunting images with really beautiful quotes to kind of like fun illustrations that have kind of a more sarcastic tone. So there's something for everyone. And with a postcard, obviously that's something, it's about 5x7. So if you wanted to print that, you can. If you wanted to, send it as a typical postcard in the mail, you could, but it also works great on social. It posts really well. These graphics are offered in really easy to use formats. It posts really well on Instagram. It posts really great on Twitter. I actually just posted one on my own Instagram. And of course, we also do have some really great activities built into the Resource Center as well. We often challenge ourselves to think of a new audience each month out on the Resource Center. So right now we're focusing on teens on trending, but in November we're going to shift to young readers. But throughout the Resource Center, we have several different tabs, everything from Print Ready, social to outreach, that focus on all the different audiences you might have in your school community. So if you haven't checked out the Resource Center, please do. It's great. And like I said, it's free, ready to use promotion right at your fingertips. And there should be something for everyone. But if you don't see something that works for you, if you go to the next slide, we can always do something custom. Tara, I keep calling you Sarah. Sorry. I have a friend named Sarah who texted me earlier. She must be on my brain. Anyway, what Tara showed you was some really great custom resources that she created. She mentioned she used a student that was prevalent in her school community because she wanted to make that connection. So obviously we try our best to work for every school, but obviously we might not work for everyone. So what we offer is custom resources that we can create for you. So if you see something on the Resource Center that you like, but maybe the image isn't quite right, or maybe the copy isn't quite right, we're always happy to make adjustments and or make something new. What I have for you on the slide right now are just a couple of examples of what we've done for some schools in the past. That Get Caught Reading graphic was a request from Gordon County Schools. They wanted to run a promotion in August, encouraging students to read during that month, and if they got caught reading, they could win a prize. So we created that one. Ogden School District actually asked us for a yard sign because they knew they were going to have students and parents in that pickup line. So they thought that was a really great idea to promote Sora there. Boulder Valley, they took advantage of our free content bundle. We're offering a free bundle right now for diverse content, and they really liked that, and so they wanted to promote that via a graphic with their logo on it. Another school, Davis School District in Utah, liked our resources, but they had a theme that they were running this school year around where reading would take you. And they gave us some loose concept. They said they wanted it to feel kind of like a fantasy novel, and our designer had a lot of fun with that and actually created that image you see there, and Davis loved it. Hillsborough School District reached out to us because they found out that their administration was considering eliminating their budget for digital books. So they asked us if we could help them create some infographics around digital reading in their school. And they used that in a PowerPoint presentation. They loved the infographics so much. They loved the idea of Sora, that their school district actually committed additional funds to Sora that they didn't even have the previous year. So we always love success stories like that. And it's always something we are willing to support. You can actually contact us out on the Resource Center and let us know if you're in need for some custom resources, or if you need even a slight change on like the bookmarks or the graphics themselves. We're always happy to make those adjustments for you. Next slide, please. And I couldn't not talk about School Stars. So we love to celebrate promotions of any kind. As I mentioned, Tara is actually a former School Stars winner, and she is such a well-deserved School Stars winner, and I hope she will enter again this year for 2021. School Stars is a program where we offer content credit to schools who are doing, unique promotions, who are doing something that really showcases Sora to their student body. We've celebrated schools who have done really funny videos. As Tara mentioned, she did that really awesome gift bag offerings to her students. So we're out here looking for just really unique, fun promotions. It also is what we use to build out the resources you see on the Resource Center. We learn a lot from this contest. So if you are doing anything super fun right now, this year's contest will launch on February 1st, but the promotion period will be the 2020 to 2021 school year. So if you're doing anything right now, you should enter, because you could have a chance to win. And I believe our grand prize offering this year is $2,500 in OverDrive content credit. And I think we're going to be offering anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in additional prizes. So definitely enter. No promotion is too small. Next slide, please. And I mentioned that we offer the custom marketing resources. We actually also offer custom trainings as well. So if you are looking to offer a training to your staff, we can do e-learning for you. This is something that we created for our school district. Our training team is wildly talented. They do amazing trainings. They can do time-based trainings, variable length. They can fit your needs and timelines. You can choose the time and date. They can do everything from brief walkthroughs to complete demos within Sora. They also will always, much like Booklist is today, they will send follow-up resources that you can share and utilize throughout the year. So if this is something that you're interested in, again, just let us know. You can contact us out on the Resource Center. And next slide, please. And we are at questions.
Okay, the questions are pouring in. So thank you so much, Christina and Tara. So as has been suggested, we now have time for a Q&A with the audience. So if you haven't already submitted a question and you would like to, or if you think of a second question, please click on the Q&A icon in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, type your question, and click send. We're going to do our best to get to as many questions as we can. And then all of the questions we don't get to will be forwarded to our panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. So I think a lot of these questions might be for both of you, Christina and Tara, but I'll let you, as you get the questions, I'll let you decide kind of on the fly who's going to answer it. So this one might be for Tara. What was the greatest challenge you faced in switching to OverDrive, both from the administration and from students?
Actually, I feel like I was really lucky, and my administration was right on board, and and they knew it was going to be a little bit of a slow process to like get the kids, on board with us. So that was very easy. The hardest thing was probably, a lot of kids still say, well, I just prefer to read the book. And so I guess I just tend to challenge them. I'll be like, okay, well, I thought that I was never going to want to read. And now when I check a book out of my library, I actually end up looking for it from either Libby, OverDrive on my public library, or buying it for our Sora collection so that I can read it online instead because I prefer it. So I challenge them, like, I dare you to read just one whole book and see if you don't like it.
Oh my God, I love that you're an ebook pusher. Isn't it funny? Like, we thought Gen Z would be all digital all the time, but I love that they like the books, even though, like you, I'm often trying to convince people that like reading an ebook is the same as reading a regular book.
That's the same thing I do. I also think that there is room to be both. I say this all
Yeah.
the time. I work for OverDrive. I'm a huge user of digital, but I have a giant bookshelf downstairs that is fully loaded with print books. I still buy both. I still borrow both. I think there is room. And I sometimes, to be honest, I'm just going to say it. Sometimes I read books. I don't want people to see that I'm reading. So digital has that really nice benefit that no one can see what I'm up to. That's all I'm going to say.
And you can carry like hundreds of books with you. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on what your checkout limits are, but you don't have to have 5 paperbacks in your backpack.
I think I have like 7 books checked out right now. So, I couldn't carry that around in a purse.
Save your back, kids. Come on. So talking about lots of books, I guess, I have a couple of money questions. I'm going to try and kind of put them together. So just, do you have general advice for schools with a limited budget?
I think with Sora, especially right now, we have a lot of free options available. You can, if you are interested in Sora, we do have a Discover Sora website that kind of gets you started. And I know that we are offering some free options for schools who just really want to get started with digital. Mm-hmm. Right now, we do have 2 free content bundles, actually 3. We offer the Diverse Voices bundle, which I mentioned earlier. We also are gearing up to offer Spanish titles for young readers, again, as a free bundle. I believe there's 100 titles in that are launching on October 30th. So these are given to any partner who has Sora. We also offer free classics. So those are going to be what you think of your typical classics like Frankenstein, Dracula. I'm sorry, I'm in a spooky mood, but yeah. So we do, I think Sora is truly available for any budget. It just start the conversation. Let us know what your needs are, what your budget is, and I think we can find an option for anyone.
Cool. And then I don't know if this varies, if you'll even be able to answer this, but someone was asking for sort of an idea of the cost for a selection of OverDrive books.
I think it also, again, not for the vague answers, it kind of depends because we have several lending options available for different budgets. So if you're someone who wants the title for a long time, so you want to have that on reserve for a long time, we have a 1 copy, 1 user or immediate access plan. And that's going to be the standard price of a book, but it's going to be per student. So if you need to buy multiple copies of that, I always think of The Giver. I think The Giver is like $7. But if you need 30 copies, you might want to explore other content options because we do offer several lending models. We have a class set lending model, which allows you to rent a title. So that is going to be cheaper, but you don't own the title for the length of service. It's going to just be kind of, you want it for a specific unit, or you're doing literature circles even. We also offer something called simultaneous use. And what that is you can, a large group of students can read the title at the same time. There are no checkout limits, but it's usually for a length of time. So you have the title for 6 months to a year. There's also cost per circ. You only pay when a student borrows the title. This is a great model if you want to find out what content interests your students. You are, like, again, the literature circle comes up a lot, or you're just using the title for a few weeks. So again, I hate being vague because it varies. It depends on the lending model. It depends on what you need the book for. But I do think that we are fairly priced. Yeah. So again, that's like a vague answer. If you are interested, obviously, with the different content models we offer, you can just reach out to us and we can get you a quote.
I mean, I feel like you were just simultaneously vague and specific. So I really admire that.
It's a gift. It's a gift, I guess.
So is there a trial that folks can sign up for
Yes.
To
Yes.
dig around and also show people?
For anyone who doesn't have Sora, who's interested in Sora, I really highly recommend you check out discoversora.com, because that's how you can sign up for the free trial. You can explore our content options. You can get started if you are interested in launching Sora today. Definitely check out discoversora.com. It's definitely the best resource for questions like that.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go through some more.
No problem.
These will be more or less in order. This question is for Tara. How many ebook platforms do you have at your school?
Really, we have mainly two. I would say that OverDrive / Sora is probably the main one. And that's, actually maybe three. That's the one that I highlight for fiction a lot. We just got Mayan this school year, so I'm actually learning about that one right now. It seems to have a lot of nonfiction in it. And then I have one other one that is primarily nonfiction. So that's ones that it's a lot of simultaneous use titles that students are using more for research.
Cool. I hope that answers the question for the user. So I have a couple of sort of language related questions. If a student changes the language in Sora, I'm assuming that means like on the the application, does that translate the books that they read?
No. So what's actually great about Sora is we are available, our interface is available in 10 languages, 11 languages, 10 or 11. It might be 11 including English. And it is going to default to your device's preferred language. So like if your device is, like if you have an iPhone and your device's set language is Spanish, Sora will actually render in Spanish. Now the books, we offer foreign language content. You can purchase foreign language books in OverDrive Marketplace, which is our purchasing portal. We offer several languages, of course. I did want to mention again, we have that free Spanish bundle coming if you are looking for Spanish content. But no, the app will not translate a book. The book will have to be in that language to appear that way. But the interface itself can appear in up to 11 different languages.
Are there plans to increase the navigation translation options?
You mean beyond those 11 languages?
Yes.
Yes, we're always exploring, we are always exploring language options. You know, obviously it comes in based on need.
Right.
But yes, I mean, I know Libby is the same as well. We're always looking to expand our offerings.
And so I think the answer to this question is yes, but I'm just going to ask it to be official. Does Sora have Spanish language books?
It does. I can actually tell you the languages that we are currently available in for that interface. Would that be helpful?
Well, not just for the interface, but like books in Spanish or in, whatever other languages.
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head what languages we have available in our actual marketplace. I assume it's quite a bit because we have millions of titles in our marketplace. Right. But the top languages that we have that are available in the interface as well is Chinese, simplified and traditional, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Russian, Spanish, and Swedish.
Cool. And you mentioned a Spanish language book bundle that is coming soon. Is that right?
Yes. On October 30th, we are launching 100 Spanish titles for young readers is the actual name of it. But yeah, that's going to be launching here soon.
But those aren't your only Spanish titles. That's just
no.
a special treat.
It's a special treat, yes.
I wish I knew how to say treat in Spanish. I would totally do it.
I did take a couple years of Spanish, but I don't want to offend anyone because it's been so long that I'd be too afraid that I would butcher something.
Cool. All right. Sorry, I got derailed by trying to pretend I spoke Spanish. So, Tara, you mentioned the internet going out. So, but this might be a Christina question. Does Sora allow the books to be downloaded and read offline? Because many students, as we learned, do not have internet access at home. Well, as the audience probably all already knew, but the larger world is learning that a lot of students don't have internet access at home.
Yes.
I might be wrong, Christina. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But I know that when I use the app, I tend to send my stuff to my Kindle. So, or to my Kindle app anyway. And then, once it's downloaded on your Kindle app, you don't have to be online to read in there. So, but I'm not sure if they open it like an OverDrive Read or OverDrive Listen, does that work without the internet being on?
Yes. So if
I feel like it does.
when you borrow books in Sora, I have mine turned on to automatically download them. I believe that's the preferred setting. I might be wrong. I have to check on that. Excuse me, everyone. But if that setting is enabled, which mine is on my Sora app, all of my titles automatically download, so I can access them offline because they're downloaded to my device.
Cool. So if you are in a school where a lot of folks don't have internet access, but you have like school iPads, that would be good to set that as the default for people. So
as long as the titles are set to download, you can access them offline. I use that back when I used to travel. That was my lifeline on airplanes.
And again, you only have to have one device instead of 500 books. So,
yes.
And then, so again, going back to the internet being down, how does that work to use? Can you use Sora offline, or do you use data instead of Wi-Fi in that situation?
I'm thinking that you need to be able to use either data or Wi-Fi in order to actually like choose and download the book. But once it's downloaded, I don't believe it uses data or needs the Wi-Fi.
That's correct. So once it's downloaded, it's not using data or Wi-Fi.
Right. So, but if your school has a situation like you did, Tara, where the internet goes down because the internet is fickle.
Right. So those students would have had to have used maybe their data on their phone to actually like pick the book out and get it downloaded. But then once it was downloaded, it wouldn't use their data.
Okay, cool. Okay, I have an attendee. Our school, which is 1st through 5th grade, uses accelerated reader. Is there any way to search the site specific to AR levels?
We do have ATOS in our metadata. So you can search by ATOS level, which I believe is related to accelerated reader. I hope that answers that question.
Me too.
Let me confirm to make sure. Let me pull up my Sora app and just make sure I'm saying that correctly. I'm using my app. Gonna just pull it up real quick.
Awesome. And so there was another question. Let's see. How, what do you, so, obviously you're not seeing a lot of students in person right now. What do you recommend to verify that students have actually read and understood the books that they chose? And I guess that would be in place of like one of the accelerated reader tests, especially if you haven't read the book they chose. Does that question make sense to you?
It does, but being at a high school, that's not something we typically do unless the teacher is having them, do some sort of a project related to a book. But we don't have AR here, and so I don't think I'm a good person to answer that one.
Can you just repeat the question one more time, Susan? Sorry, I was checking on that ATOS level thing. I want to make sure I understand it before I try and answer it.
What do you recommend to verify that students have actually read and understood chapter books of their choosing?
We have a couple interactive options on the Resource Center that kind of give that opportunity. We have reading challenges and things like that. What's really great about the Sora app, though, that kind of goes a little bit deeper, is we do have student progress built into the app. And we actually have that feature now available if you do explore our title assignment option that allows you to see this data there. But what the student data is tracking is total time read, average time spent in the book. I know that's not specific to one book individually, but I think it gives you kind of that access to see. Obviously, that would be something if it wasn't a title assignment. If it was just student to student, they would have to share that with their teacher. But I think it kind of gives sort of unique look with how that student's engaging with Sora. But beyond kind of like how do you ensure that they're engaging with the book, built into Sora, we do have note-taking, highlighting, define tools. So that's another thing, we also capture that within the app. If a student makes a note, our notes are exportable, they're shareable. You can share it on Google, you can share it as a PDF, you can share it as a CSV. So there is ways to kind of see how students are engaging with the book. I don't know if that answers that question, but I do think built into the app, there are tools to ensure students are opening and engaging with the title.
Yeah, I think so. I think that covers it. Is the app free?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. And we have one person who uses the OverDrive app, but not Sora. Do you have promotional materials for that? So
we
Libby?
still have promotional materials for OverDrive, but I would encourage the usage of Sora for schools.
Yeah. So what about, okay, let's talk about promotion. How can we promote this virtually? What are the best ways to encourage students to use Sora with neato incentives and display on a virtual level?
Okay, I love this question. I saw this actually come in when I was talking.
Oh.
So thank you for asking whoever asked that. Now,
Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. We are in such a unique situation with COVID. I know I don't need to say that, you all know this, but I think this is where Sora really lends itself being digital. And what I've seen so many schools do online has been so incredible. I'm seeing teachers get on Instagram stories and do like title bios, like talking about like giving like jacket trailers. And so I think social media has been such the landscape of promotion right now, especially with where we're at. So I think what we have on the Resource Center for you, we've definitely kind of tried our best to really lean into social media. So like I said earlier when I was talking about those postcards, we have everything from like really deeply thought-provoking quotes to like really funny, sarcastic pictures. So I think the social media landscape is new for us, but we're trying to make resources for schools that they can use to take the guesswork out of it. But social media is your friend. Instagram seems to be one of the most popular, definitely most trendy social media. So a lot of our graphics are 1080 by 1080, which just means they're square. So a lot of our graphics are built to look great on Instagram. We do have Sora scavenger hunts. I've seen some schools post those in their learning management systems. Like, hey, if you haven't tried Sora yet, get out there and try it. Here's a scavenger hunt to get you started. We've done reading challenges, like I mentioned earlier. They're all of our stuff that used to be just print, we're now converting to digital, so schools can post them in their channels digitally. So I think really just the first step to promotion is just promoting, just getting out on social media, mentioning Sora. We have graphics that are your basic Sora icon with just download Sora today for free ebooks to the more kind of intricate ones that have fun jacket covers. Like I said, the Read If You Dare kit has obviously a theme. So there's a lot out on the Resource Center. And I think anything from just getting started, easy to use promotion, to if you want to get more kind of themed in how you're promoting it.
Now, have you thought about a Sora TikTok dance challenge?
You know,
that's not a question from an attendee. I just want,
I
take the blame for that one.
I am a little too old for TikTok.
Look,
but,
me too.
We have a social media specialist on staff and on our marketing department who has explored Sora on TikTok. So I'm not saying never.
Right.
I just probably myself, Christina, will not be in the TikTok video, but I
Watch
have
the
been
space, though.
I have been in Sora videos before, so I guess I shouldn't say that. Maybe they'll ask me, and I've lied to all of you, and I will be in it. But
the next
no
time
plans
we try to do one of these, we'll be like, Christina's not available. She's a TikTok sensation.
I mean, if that's if someone wants to make that my next job, I'll take it, I guess.
Just kidding. You love OverDrive, and so do we. Okay, listen. Let's get back to the questions. Sorry to derail. What's the best approach for deciding which books to purchase as ebooks? And can you talk a little bit about the curated collections that are available?
I would just say that I take the same approach, I guess, as I take to ordering print books for my library. It's really very similar, where I like to read reviews and there's the authors that you always know that are popular, and and the topics and things like that. So I really use the exact same process when I'm trying to decide what to buy, whether it's digital, audio, or print. And they have a lot of, when you're in OverDrive Marketplace where you're purchasing books, they have some great like list ideas. Like they'll say like the top 100 YA books that you don't have in your collection yet. And you can kind of go through those and see if there's any of those that you want to add to your cart. And they also have like thematic ones that come out. And of course, when there's sales, those are always awesome. So they do have different little ways for you to do that. And maybe this is a good spot also to mention that once you have books in your collection, you can curate like little collections that will show up in Sora. So you, like I have one that will pop into mine when anytime my students are in the Sora app for my school, they'll have the list of the Florida Teens Read nominated books. They will have a list of books that I have in the collection that have been made into movies, and just so you can kind of create your own little lists of that goes a little bit back to promotion again.
But yeah, that's a great virtual promotion once they're in the app. So about audiobooks, does Sora have audio for all of the available books? Because Christy's students love audio.
Well, they have your book. The books are available as an ebook, an audio book, and sometimes you could buy each, but they're generally separate. Like you don't have an ebook that has audio, except maybe Christina, for like young students. Do you have?
Oh, I think the question is just in general.
Oh, okay.
If it's an ebook, is it generally also available in audio?
Generally, yes. I think there's obviously going to be unique cases where we have the ebook. It is obviously we are beholden to the publisher and what the publisher makes available, but in terms of like popular content, yes, we typically have both formats. But again, Marketplace is vast. It's vast, but that's why we actually have on staff a dedicated team of on-staff librarians. So if you are someone who's new to Sora or coming into Sora, Marketplace can obviously, the benefit of having so much content is great, but obviously it can be overwhelming. And actually we can have our staff librarians build curated carts for you out in Marketplace based on your content needs. So if you came in and you're like, listen, I need this strictly for curriculum and I needed to meet these needs and I need these titles specifically, our staff librarians can get to work for you in building out carts so that you don't have to sift through Marketplace. And same thing, if you came in and you were like, I need ebook equivalents of all these audiobooks or audiobook equivalents of all these ebooks, that's something our content team can do the research and do the work for you and just create that cart so that you can review and purchase.
Awesome. Now we have a question here. How do we find out more about access grants? I don't remember you mentioning that, but
I know that it's a good question because I know that that's something that our account facing teams are exploring more. I know we just actually hired someone just recently who was to help draft grants on behalf of schools to get grants for Sora. I'm not sure how to answer that question. I hate being vague, but that's something that you could reach out to us on, and I'm sure our account facing teams can better address those questions for you.
Yeah, and maybe after this is over, so you'll get a list of all these questions. So whoever is the right person to answer that can respond to this question. Or okay, someone has OverDrive and was wondering if you have Bitmoji slides or to incorporate Bitmoji graphics to market materials.
It's funny. This just actually came up in a meeting with my team. My question I think that's a great question. I think that's a great idea. How would we incorporate Bitmoji? Because isn't a Bitmoji supposed to resemble you? So
no,
I know, and I see
definitely a question I cannot answer.
I see a lot of Bitmojis in school promotions, and it is something we've explored, but that's always the roadblock we hit because Bitmojis are so custom to. I have a Bitmoji. I do. I created one because I wanted to, and I do think it's something that we see a lot actually in that School Stars promotion. A lot of schools who entered showed off some of their Bitmoji promotions that they've done.
Fun.
I'd love to explore it. I'm not sure how. So whomever posed that question, if you want to give me some good ideas, I am all ears because I truly do want to explore that. I just need to make sure I execute it properly on the Resource Center because I don't know if you guys want to see my Bitmoji or not. So
You're the new digital face of Sora.
I did spend a lot of time on creating her, so I'm quite proud of her. So maybe I should.
Okay, is the Sora app exclusively for school library collections, or can it be piggybacked with the public library? And this person asks because their public library gives access to students via their digital library card. I think that's probably common in a lot of places where students get
Yes.
access to the public library being enrolled.
That was a great question because now I can talk about Public Library Connect, which we offer through Sora. So anyone who has Sora actually can go into Sora, and under the menu, there's an option to add a library. You can add a public library in Sora. All they need is a public library card. That is available in Sora regardless if you use Public Library Connect. But we also offer something called Public Library Connect, which allows you to kind of build a gateway between your library, which would allow a student to go in, add the library, and not have to add a public library card. It actually would be the gateway would be between the library and the school, where we would set up authentication in the background. I don't want to do all the technical, it's not my specialty, but what Public Library Connect essentially allows is a student from your school can access a public library of your choosing without needing to set up a library card. It will access the school's authentication on the back end. That's something you can reach out to your account manager about. If you are going to do Public Library Connect, there has to be the connection with the library. So the library has to obviously agree. But in that person's scenario, it sounds like the library is already making that possible. So they could be a good Public Library Connect contender. But yeah, everyone in Sora, though, do you want to make that clear? If you have Sora, a student can add a public library in Sora at any time, as long as they have a public library card. When they sign into the public library, it will actually open in the Sora app. And the beauty of it is it's going to eliminate any of those kind of mature titles. So they won't see any adult or mature content. It will only feature juvenile and YA content in the Sora app, even if it's from the public library.
Cool. And that sounds smart because I think like the difference between a school library and a public library to us is an important distinction. And, we understand the intricacies of it, but like for a student, it's like, I just want to check out a book. Like, why do I have to jump through hoops? So
we want to make it easy.
Having them connected is good. Can you talk about the kinds of reporting functions that are available, like circ stats, etc.?
I can try.
Okay.
We in OverDrive Marketplace, we have several reporting options available. That's going to show off your checkouts, circulation. We also go into your user's experience in Sora, so like most downloaded books in Sora. The answer to the question is yes, we do have reporting available. I can't really speak to.
Well, there's an Insights tab.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you.
And there's a bunch of different types of reports you can get, and you can pick like date ranges to look out checkouts, and it'll tell you how many of this type of it breaks it down by the type of is it an audiobook, is it an ebook, how many times did this title get checked out that month, or however you're setting it up. So there are some really good reporting things, and then you can drill it down to, like when I do the treat bags for the students, I can drill it down to their student ID numbers, and then I do have to like look those up and see, okay, which kid is that? But that way you can see who's reading, you can see who's reading the most as far as people, and you can see there's a lot of good reports that you could get.
We love a spreadsheet.
Thank you, Tara. I don't spend as much time in Marketplace, and it's obviously showing right now. Apologies, everyone. I handle marketing.
So we are running low on time, so I have two questions left, and I think we'll be able to get to both of them. This is a clarification about the languages of the books themselves. When you said the books were available in different languages, does the library have to purchase the book multiple times in different languages for the reader to be able to switch between languages, or is purchasing one version make the other language formats available for the readers?
It will be a purchase for each language.
I mean, it's usually a different publisher
Right.
and
Yeah. So it's
yeah,
one language per title, if that makes sense.
cool. I hope so. I mean, it does to me, but I'm not the target audience. Okay. So you just talked about the resource center. So Megan says, I'm looking at your resource center now and I really like your graphics. Hooray.
Thanks, Megan.
But they highlight books we don't have in our collection. Do you have more generic social media JPEGs, not just the Sora icon, but like holiday ones and fun stuff? All the ones that Megan is seeing already has a book in the graphic.
Thank you for that feedback, Megan. We do challenge ourselves to try and pick popular titles, but of course we run into that. My answer to that would be we do and can offer to either provide the graphic that she sees if she likes it with titles from her collection. That would just reach out to us. We're happy to do the custom work. And I did see this come up in the questions. If you need custom work on a graphic, be it social, be it a print piece, that's free. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for custom work. We're not going to charge you for it. But yes, so we are trying our best to make all of our graphics easily shareable, and we do have to kind of ask ourselves, okay, is this content popular enough that everyone has it? Is it popular enough that enough people have it? But if you see a graphic that you love and the graphics have titles that you don't have, we're happy to swap jacket covers. You don't even have to tell us jacket covers. We can always just ask your account facing team to give us some examples from your collection. So yeah, we can happily do that for you guys.
Well, that's awfully convenient and wonderful. Okay, so I think that's all the time we have for today. So a very big thank you to our audience and to Tara and Christina for taking the time to speak to us. So, oops, are we caught up? On Monday, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and upcoming ones like the ones you see here. Ooh. If you haven't already, be sure to check out Booklist Reader, where Booklist contributors post daily about all things books and library land. Not yet a subscriber? Don't worry, you can pair the page-by-page reading experience of print with the convenience of online access at booklistonline.com and lock in print, online, digital, and archive access by taking advantage of the special webinar offer to get Booklist for only $75. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, and one more thank you to our sponsor, OverDrive Education. This concludes today's webinar.